What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Vikings Brawl. My name is Tyler Carmer. I'm your host. You can find me on Twitter at Carmer NFL. I got my co-host with me, Austin Winders. You can find his Twitter at Winders20. Find the show at Vikings Brawl. And to start today, I wanted to just talk about the coronavirus and where we're at, and hope everyone out there is being safe and distancing themselves, as if they were walking by a Packers fan or something. That keep that bubble around you, everyone, or stay home at least. I hope you can work from home if possible. If you can't, that sucks. But hopefully there's some help coming your way. And I just saw today that United States is leading the world in confirmed cases now. So I hope more than ever that everyone's really staying home. And unfortunately, you can't because your job is important.
Being a UPS driver, I think we're going to be in it until the end of it, unfortunately.
You're the last line of defense here. You're the last one to go.
But for sure, just wishing everybody good health and hoping that everybody's staying pretty well isolated. I feel like the more people that do that, the shorter that this whole thing's going to last. And that's really not that this is important, but it's really obviously affecting things like our sports in the way that we talk about them. And it's kind of leaving us with not as much to talk about, but also allowing us to be a little bit more creative in what we do talk about. So as we move on here, hopefully more and more things keep happening in the sports world slowly that allow us to keep talking about that. And hopefully this is all over faster than we think it's going to be, unfortunately.
Let's hope so. It's been a crazy road to just hear about it. Something happening in China with some sickness, and now there's a couple cases confirmed in this county that I live in near Kansas City. So it's like incredible to think like, wow, this is a real thing that's happening right now. So I hope everyone is taking it serious and not blowing it off.
Me too.
But we'll move on from that now, and like you just said, this is affecting sports in general, obviously. But right. Roger Goodell today sent out a memo to every team saying the draft will still go on from the 23rd to the 25th of April. I didn't actually read the memo. I just saw Rappaport's tweet that said what I just said. And so I'm not really sure how the draft is going to happen yet. I don't know if they're just going to have people have cameras in select locations, like the draft analysts probably will have a in-home studio set up, I would assume. And then I'm sure certain high-profile draft picks will like, your Joe Burrow, your Chase Young will have cameras sent to them to set up a little something.
Right, but at home.
This is going to be not cool because you want to see them walk across the stage, but it'll be interesting to see this just go through basically like how we talk to each other through Skype, through videos of people at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously their production might be a little bit better than our production.
Probably a little bit, yeah.
But even with that, it'll, like you said, not cool, but it'll be very interesting to see how they manipulate this to try and get the best view, ratings as they possibly can, because that's something we all know that the NFL really is looking for, is to get as many people watching as possible. And who knows with how many people aren't working right now and how slow the world seems to be slowing down. Like I said, being a UPS driver, being out there, like I see every single day I'm driving around and there are more people outside than I have ever seen. It's pretty wild that people are just out doing a lot and hopefully still staying away from each other. But
it's been cool to see that. I've been at home, work has sent me home. I've got, asthma, an underlying condition. So they're looking out for me, having me stay home, and I appreciate that. And it's given me time to go for longer walks with my dog and whatnot. And the amount of people I've seen outside, like their families, not like friends, but kids playing soccer or football, just people out being active. I've never seen this like since my childhood, probably. So it's kind of been nice to see people rediscover that. Sorry to get off track there for a second, but you brought that up.
No, totally agree. Yeah.
But with people being off work so much, and probably still will be, there'll probably still be a lot of people off, in late April. this might be one of the highest viewed drafts.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. I
Yeah.
think with so many people having so much time, I think a bunch of people will be watching, and you got to count. Not that it's that many people, but you got to account for all the people that would actually be at the draft that are going to now be watching it on TV.
Oh
So
yeah. And
it's pretty. Go
and
ahead.
most teams have a draft party in their stadium, and with tens of thousands of people that come in. Not
Right,
tens of thousands, but there's probably
a
10,000 people
lot.
that go to these. And you got to think, all 32 teams, that's a lot of people that are going to be watching on TV now.
That is a lot of people. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. It's almost inevitable if it's going to be on television, that we're going to have the highest ratings we've ever seen. But it should be a good one, and a good one for the Vikings, hopefully.
And I'm ready for it. It is, what is
Me
today, like
too.
the 26th or something like that,
Yep,
I
the
believe.
26th. Yep.
Yeah. So we're less than a month away. That's amazing that we're finally here. I feel like each day is about the length of a week right now with being at home every day. But
Yeah, it's definitely dragging by without sports. It sounds weird, but that's honestly one of those things that we just dive into every day, in and out of work. Basically, is your sporting world. What's on today? What's on tomorrow? What's on for the weekend?
mhm.
And we don't have any of that right now. So it's
Yeah.
it's pretty dreadful, to be honest. And I was pretty sad. This isn't Vikings related or anything, but I'm an MLB. I'm a baseball fan, and
Oh yeah.
Today was opening day, and
And
it
it
was
was
not opening day.
and it would have been for a Royals game here in Kansas City. It would have been 65 and sunny, perfect, a perfect opening day.
Yeah, and so
It
that's
is weird times, man.
one of the only things I think keep me sane right now is the fact that we get to hop on here and actually talk about football. So that's one of those
Right.
things. I'm looking
And
forward to the draft coming up.
and for those listening, the amount of football that Austin and I talk about, all outside of this show is insane. So it's like the fact that there's none to talk about or none to really discuss, like the fact that we can get on here and actually talk and spread information and commentary on stuff to other people. It's like I look forward to this more now than ever.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's great that we get this opportunity, and it also it kills me sometimes because of the fact of how much that we talk about sports outside of this, and we're confined to kind of talking football. And so for anybody that is listening, if you guys ever tune in, we talk Vikings football, but we're also going to be talking about everyday life and talking about other teams as well, because those teams affect our team, and how the season goes and how the league runs. And it seems to be a lot better of a show when we can kind of just go all over the place and talk about everything in sports.
Right.
We're a show for sports. So
Right. And as the draft gets closer, I think everyone's going to see how much of a draft nerd that me myself especially am. Like I dive in and watch more people than anyone I personally know. And so you're going to hear me talking about a lot of prospects that come day 2 or 3 of the draft, you're going to be like, wait, where did I hear that name? And it's hopefully will be someone I was talking about. And, as these players break out over time, I'll bring them up again, because there's players that I had wished the Vikings would have gone for. And I'm sure that'll happen again this year. And like two names to stick out that I was just really lobbying for the Vikings to take last year was either Mecole Hardman
yep.
or Terry McLaurin. And I'd say they turned out all right. And I'm not saying that they have to listen to me, but like,
Let's be honest.
it was a
Yeah.
good suggestion.
Right. We could have
But-
used that receiver last year.
Well, right now it would really come in handy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But that's enough draft stuff. That's not for a month now. Let's talk about some of the free agent stuff that's happened since we talked last week.
Right.
And specifically today, what just happened today was an old friend, Xavier Rhodes, 1 year, $5 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts. What do you think about that?
Is road going to be closed in Indianapolis, or what's going to happen with that? Because I don't know. Maybe he needs a new system just to rejuvenate himself and get back to where he is. That defense is a good defense. So
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere for him to go to be able to get implemented into a team and immediately do well, that would probably be one of those teams. So it's going to be the ultimate test. If it, like you said 1 year, he's really got to prove himself. That right there shows it's either make or break for him this year. It kind of seems like.
I don't really know what kind of defense they run, because I don't watch that much AFC.
Right.
And so I have no idea what they're going to do with him. All I know is that if it's not a press man type of defense, he struggles because I don't really know why at this point. It might just be age catching up to him. And I don't know another DB besides Malik Hooker on that team. And so I would think that means that he'll go and be the starter, the CB1 on that team. But I'm not really sure. I'm happy for him though. That's a good team for him to get to be a part of.
Absolutely.
He never did anything wrong or did the Vikings dirty. He got cut and took the most money he could. Yeah.
Right. Wishing him luck and like I said, this is just gotta be his prove it year. So hoping he does well.
Yeah. And the Vikings signed a couple people this week too. And one is a receiver. We've all been waiting for that. They signed the former Titans receiver Tajay Sharp.
Woo!
Good. I'm happy with it.
Me too.
There's people out there like Taylor Gabriel that I would have been happier with because he's a joystick. But Sharp is like he's like, I think he's like Jarius Wright, someone that they'll be able to bring on the field on third down and run a crisp route with enough speed and separation and hands to get open. Okay. So I think he'll be the second or third receiver on the depth chart.
And do you think that was the move to fill the void for Stephon Diggs?
I don't really think there's anything you could do to fill the void of Diggs being gone.
I don't think so.
Because he's too good at getting open. And
absolutely.
Sharp's a good player, but you're not replacing Diggs with a guy that you signed for less than $1 million guaranteed on a 1-year deal. They should know that.
Right.
So I still expect them to draft a receiver within the first 3 or 4 picks.
Me too. And it would be cool. Hope. It kind of seems like Tajay had kind of his peak his rookie year. It almost seems like he had a pretty solid year. And then since then, he's just kind of struggled. He had an injury that took him out for I think the 2017 season. He had really good chemistry, it seemed like, with Marcus Mariota, and then they transitioned from there, and he didn't do as well. But I think still being young, he still has a ceiling that he can achieve. He also has a pretty solid route tree. So even though he's not going to be the guy that hopefully we're trying to replace Stephon Diggs with, he can fill in that spot when we need him to, and hopefully he can hit that ceiling and get us, a decent, similar type of play.
Yeah,
right.
He's a reliable
just a guy that can go
target.
in there. I like BC Johnson, and I think that he has a chance to maybe be the third receiver, but I think those two guys are going to be battling that out. And I mean, it would be great to see a guy that we haven't had on the team before win that battle and come up and show us what he's got. So
especially for the deal he signed.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, my favorite thing about Sharp, our favorite plays from Sharp this year, where I don't know if you or anyone listening was able to watch the Saints versus Titans this year. And I think Sharp he had 1 or 2. I think he had 2 touchdowns in that game, and they were both kind of off script plays where Tannehill flushed the pocket and Sharp just put his hand up and moved to the opposite side of the defense was flowing and caught it. Like it was like a 15-yard catch, but then he took it 50 yards for a touchdown. And then another one was a crossing route where he just kept running as Tannehill kept running, and he ended up finding a hole in the defense. And so one of his strengths is off-script playability, but Kirk's biggest weakness is off-script playabilities.
I was going to say, he doesn't move too much.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how, they won't really be able to use one of his best strengths in that regard unless Kirk is practicing every day, flushing the pocket. But
one thing that you could look at that too, you could look at it as the fact that he's at this point a veteran in the league. He's been in for a couple years. He went to the playoffs with the Titans, and so now he's seasoned and he's knowledgeable on the sport. So like just making open plays in the field like that on a broken down play or something like that. That just shows his knowledge on field.
Yep.
And
Awareness.
Yep. Hopefully he can take that and who knows, help out some of the other receivers. Any of that presence is good in the locker room.
That's going to be a young receiver room. That'll be like
Right.
Thielen and Sharp as the veterans for the most part.
And even though we lost, I personally like Stephon Diggs in the way that he was as a person. He was very fiery. Tajay Sharp kind of makes up for losing that a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember his interview last year when he mocked the Ravens and Mark Ingram with his big trust. Woo, woo, King Henry. Woo, woo.
Yeah.
So I like that personality. Those are my kind of guys. So.
They bring the energy. I like that. I do like
that.
Every team needs people.
He's got to bring his game too.
Yeah,
because that's
when you start Diggs backed his game. Diggs is
You're right.
But moving on from Sharp, they also signed defensive end Anthony Zettel, and if that name rings a bell to anyone listening, it is because when he was with the Lions a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago. They came into U.S. Bank Stadium and won, and a lot of it was because of his pressures, his 2 sacks, and the fumble recovery. Mm-hmm. So by no means, I don't think he's going to be the starter. But he's like I'd say your replacement for Weatherly,
right?
Someone that can rush inside, outside, come in for the starters.
He kind of in a sense reminds me of like a Brian Robinson. In a way, seasoned, like solid guy, been in the league for a couple of years, kind of been around the block type of guy. He's not going to wow us with anything we haven't seen before, but he's going to come in and he's going to play solid, fill in that spot when we need him to. Hopefully, we get something in the draft, or
he's good at bending the corner, getting low, and then he can run. He's good at running stunts, and he's got to be good at those because his arms for his body are really short.
Mm-hmm.
So if
say he's quick, right?
He's quick. Tackles have arms that hang past their knees. So
he's like when T-Rex.
He's like a T-Rex compared to them. So good signing. Got him for cheap. I think he'll make it to the team as a depth edge rusher.
Yeah, I'd be all right with that.
And I'm okay with that. He was just with the Niners all the way up to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Or through it.
Which being on that
and he
team
played a lot of snaps.
I was going to say that team in general, there's a lot of knowledge on that team.
Yeah.
So he played in a good system.
Yeah.
Switching.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, switching back behind him a little bit, talking about a linebacker. We signed one from the XFL.
Good.
Good. I'm super pumped about. He played for the Houston Roughnecks, DeMarcus Gates. He also played in the AAF and was the leading tackler in the AAF before they disbanded. So that's a super cool.
Fell apart.
Exactly. But that's a super cool signing because he was a powerhouse on the Roughnecks. He was one of the best defenders in the league. When you go from 2 different leagues that are both semi-pro leagues and you're the top dog of both of those leagues, and I think he's 24 years old still.
Wow.
That's a lot of promise. He's a coverage linebacker.
Yeah.
He knows how to catch the ball. So that's something that we like. I like on the Vikings. I think it helps us out a lot having guys like Anthony Barr that can drop back in coverage and stuff like that. So
he is built like a tackle. His very long arms are longer than his height, and so he's got a huge wingspan. He can dip the edge as a rusher, but like you were saying, I remember watching some of their games and seeing him. He broke up passes. He had a pick or two, like one or two picks, fumble recoveries. He stood out. So when they signed him, I was like, hey, I've heard that name. And then it was like, oh, that's because he was all over the place. I remembered now.
Absolutely.
I think it was relatively cheap deal as well.
Yeah, which
should have been. I think it was a minimum.
You might as well. It's more that you get to see than I don't know, college players at this point. Like, we're not getting to see college players play right now, and who knows what's going to happen up until the draft. These guys literally were playing a couple weeks ago, so it's that's exciting. I'm pumped about that signing. So
yeah, do you think he's going to be like work his way to the 53 or be a special teamer or?
It's just hard to tell because I don't think you quite yet have a at least I don't have a full understanding of how similar the XFL is to the NFL and how big of a gap that is there. Obviously, there's some guys who weren't starters on NFL teams that are starters in that league, like Landry Jones and Cardell Jones and stuff like that. But even those guys struggled to make teams.
Yeah.
So it's one of those.
Well,
maybe
a little wrinkle there. Yeah. I know that the Kentrell Brothers is a free agent, and they haven't re-signed him yet. He could be the special teams, fourth linebacker replacement.
Just to get him on the roster.
It might be a camp battle. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yet. I mean, the dude could come in and wow us. It's stuff like that's happened before.
He's good.
Yeah. So he's 20. Like I said, 24 years old. There's a lot of upside there. So.
And for anyone listening, I have on my Twitter at Carmer NFL. I have threads, like video threads from Tajay Sharp, Anthony Zettel, and forgot his name already. XFL guy.
Oh, DeMarcus Gates.
Yeah, and him. I have threads that I've either quoted or retweeted. So if you guys anyone out there is on Twitter and wants to go look, they're on my Twitter, and you can kind of see what the players do on the field versus just hear us talk about them.
Absolutely.
But
yeah, and while we're talking about signings, I just kind of wanted to talk about a couple more of our losses that we had this week that I don't think we talked about last week at all. We lost J-Ron Curse and Andrew Sendejo to the Cleveland Browns. So he went over to join a fellow face over there.
Sendejo, right? With the Browns?
With the Browns, yep. So. And
then where did J-Ron sign? I believe he was with Detroit.
I want to say the Lions, yep.
Yeah, so J-Ron.
That's a guy we've really liked for a while. So
I wanted Curse to like be, if they let Anthony Harris go, I was like, sign Curse and let him play. But
athletic freak.
And DNA. Look at his uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, and that relationship between Zimmer and Curse was long gone.
Yeah. So
especially after Curse came in against Denver and saved the day and balled out in the clutch, and then Zimmer still didn't play him. That was too far gone. I knew he wouldn't.
Yeah, no. So we lost that safety, and now we're and then we lost Andrew Sendejo in a safety, and hey, at least we locked up Anthony Harris, right? But who really knows?
But did we?
Because what's going to happen there? So kind of shifting over from talking about the safeties that we lost. And now that we've restructured Danielle Hunter's contract, and that saved us about $5.5 million by, I think, taking his 10.9 mil that he was previously, 14.9 mil he was previously
14,
owed,
yeah,
and taking $8 million of that and putting it on the bonuses for the next 4 years in $2 million increments, and basically freeing up $5.5 million in cap. So now we're around $10 million in cap space, which is awesome. It allows us space to make a move. And talking about those safeties, I personally think that something's going to happen with that Anthony Harris. Whether that be, who knows? Maybe we sign him to a long-term contract. Maybe this was just buying us time. Yeah, just throwing it out there, spitballing it. But I mean, if not, you think we're just going to keep him for 1 year? Because I don't really see that being a smart move for the Vikings. It would be kind of not detrimental, but it would hurt more than help the team by keeping him for another year.
Well, I was talking to Darren Wolfson, who is a reporter in Minnesota that covers like Minnesota sports, the Vikings, the Timberwolves, and Twins, and so on. And he basically had said every scenario right now is possible. That's why we haven't seen anything. Right. He said the Vikings have talked about signing Harris long term with good money because Harris wants to be here and Zimmer loves him. They've talked about Harris playing on the 1 year franchise tag. They've talked about trading him, but no one is going to actually offer them what they want. They want a second or third, and so no one's going to give him that, because then all you're doing is you're giving a draft pick for his contract negotiation rights.
Right.
So you could give a third, and all you're giving is the right to negotiate with Harris now that he's on your team.
Mm-hmm.
And he could just be like, no, I'm going to go look next year.
But what if he What if he signs a team friendly, not team friendly, but in mind of a trade friendly contract that would allow him to not be locked up as a Viking, but get traded somewhere else instead
See,
under
that's
that
the thing. He
contract.
wants to be a Viking. Like this
Right.
is where his number one place to be and go is.
So basically, you think the only way that he would be getting traded is if they traded him straight up on his franchise tag.
Yeah, which is what I think. I think ended up. I don't see Harris coming back. Like
It's hard to believe.
I think they would have already done it if they're like, this is our priority. We're extending him, but I think it's more likely he does end up getting dealt for like a fourth.
Do you know how, if there's going to be a cap hit, or like how much of cap hit it would be?
11 million. Franchise tags 11 million. Yes.
So it would be everything.
That free up cap space, and that leads me to my next point.
Yeah.
Is that Darren also said that there's a lot of people in the Vikings organization that love Trent Williams.
Right. How can you not?
The left tackle for Washington. And Washington is just being kind of stubborn and they want a second or a first for Trent. And people are like, that's just not happening. You guys, he's not playing for you. He's already said that. Right. So you guys, we'll just wait for you guys to cut him and then we'll sign him. And so that's kind of the Vikings mood right now, is they love Williams, they love Harris. But if I was a betting man and I had to bet which one's more likely on the team, I would guess that they make a move for a left tackle than a safety.
Okay.
An elite, like a top 3 in the league tackle.
Which hopefully would be Trent Williams.
Trent, cool. I can't really, maybe Bakhtiari. He might be like him, maybe Tyron Smith, and that's about the only left tackles I could name that are better than Trent Williams right now.
Yeah, I would be obviously okay with that, because it's been a while since we've had like that prominent of an offensive lineman. But do you think that the Vikings just keep sticking with what they've stuck with for the past how many years, with the whole just keep drafting young guys until it works and just make it work?
I think they're doing a rebuild on the fly.
Me too, and
so
because I think we all understand that with that re-signing of Kirk Cousins, they want to win right now before he's gone.
They don't want complete mediocrity. That's why they signed.
Exactly.
They needed cap space. They wanted to avoid tanking more or less, and I think that's pretty apparent because of the $45 million cap hit in 2022. I'd pay Patrick Mahomes that much money, but not Kirk Cousins.
No.
So I think Kirk's with the team for 2 more years, which gives him an option to go to free agency only at like 33, 2 or 3, get another payday, which he already has a ton of money, but might as well get another one, you know?
Yep.
And, the Diggs trade, that kind of was the nail in the coffin for a build on the fly. Because what Cousins needs to win is playmakers. And no one got open better in the league than Diggs. And
the scary thing was our defense hasn't been what it's been. Kind of like it's still a solid defense. It has been, but there's just points of nervousness that we've gotten over the past couple of years. And then right now there's so many question marks with how many moves how many things have happened to this defense that I'm like, I don't even know if we're going to be a mid-tier defense next year, depending on what we do. So it really is just so definite on what they do coming up here in the rest of the preseason. It's wild.
It's gonna be weird. Think about what I haven't even heard of a team in recent years lose their CB 1, 2, and 3. All 3 of the starters are gone.
Right. And
then Everson Griffin's gone. Linval Joseph's gone.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, fortunate enough for us, the other cornerback that we wanted to keep and has the potential to be better than some of those guys is still here. So I'm happy with that. Plus,
Mike Hughes.
Mike Hughes, thank you.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I thought you were talking about Holton Hill or something. I was like,
no, he's gone.
Holton Hill's here.
No, I mean I don't think he's ever going to start for us.
Oh.
But I like him, and I think that coming up here it seems like we have to go corner in this draft. And
I think the first pick they go corner.
Yeah, and the cool thing is with what we got going on with Kirk Cousins still being here, there's still a window for after this next year. You know what I mean? And who knows with even this fall if we're even going to have a season this year, or what type of season it's going to be like with the whole coronavirus thing going on right now. Obviously, it doesn't. We would hope that it wouldn't affect all of the NFL season, but it could have some time. It definitely could, and it could affect the way that the season's played, and it could affect the way that decisions are made on the team. So
yeah, maybe the Vikings are so far ahead of every team mentally that they just know this year the games aren't going to be played, so they don't care about all the dead cap they're acquiring because they're getting ready for next year.
That kind of just seems what it's like, isn't it?
10 steps ahead. That's what they're doing. That's it.
No, I like the positive thinking. I like the positive thinking.
That's my own. I don't know. But now, speaking of Anthony Harris and Trent Williams, you get to pick one to be on the team. Which one you picking? You picking the elite free safety or strong safety or whatever he is, or the elite left tackle? Both are at about the same age tier for their position. He's 30 or 31. Harris is 28, about 29.
Yeah, at this point, I'd rather have Trent Williams, and that's just because of the current situation. I think that in the long haul, Anthony Harris is a better option. But I just think, obviously, right now, with where our team is, really, really wanting to establish offensive stud on the line, because it's just been a while. And having that presence, who knows what that could do for a 1,000-yard rusher in Dalvin Cook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A possible 2,000-yard rusher.
Who knows what it could do for a statue quarterback?
Absolutely.
You got to think having a statue at left tackle that doesn't let people past you will help a statue in the pocket.
Right. And
I'm taking so many shots at Kirk today.
You're all right. It's understandable sometimes. But the defense is one of those things. We make it work with no matter who the guys are on the defense. And our offense was stacked last year, and we didn't get the job done. Like, not that stacked, but I mean, you can't. You have 2 wide receiver ones, 2 top 10 wide receivers on your team. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Something needs to change somewhere, and it's not with the offensive weapons. So that offensive line obviously needs to be looked at.
And if Williams, I think, has another 5 years of good play. Like, look at Jason Peters. He's 38 and still an elite left tackle.
Yeah.
And so they could trade for Williams and get him long term, and that there would be nothing better for them if they decided to go with a young quarterback for the future here in the next few years than having an elite left tackle, one of the best young right tackles in the league, and Brian O'Neill. That's the perfect start, and then having Cook behind him. That is perfect for a young quarterback. So I don't know if that's their plan with 12 picks this year, and they're going to have the same amount of compensatory picks next year because of everyone that's been gone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and
I don't know.
It's even one of those things. Obviously, this draft is stocked with quarterbacks, but I've kind of decided at this point that I wouldn't be too upset if we didn't draft a quarterback this year. Obviously, I really want that, but if we don't, and we can get one next year, just because of the Kirk Cousins situation. I don't know. I'm okay. I've told you this before. I'm okay with having a bad year. We've had mediocre for so long that I would be okay with one in, you know what?
If we had one year that we fell to get a good quarterback because we blew it up, so be it. If we got the next, I'm not going to say Mahomes because there's no Mahomes. But if we got the next Deshaun Watson, or hell, even Josh Allen's a decent quarterback and getting better. If we had somewhat young quarterback with promise after one bad year, so be it.
And
every team has a bad year.
A lot of teams are doing this model in all sports now. Like it's common. Like you see teams going after the the Toronto Raptors did it with Kawhi Leonard. They didn't even know if the dude wanted to stay on the team, and he didn't. He left that year, but he went there and he won them a world championship, their first world championship.
Yeah,
and everybody's happy. And
he'll be a legend. He'll be a
and,
legend there forever.
And they'll be happy for 10 more years. Cubs fans. Not that that's how you guys built it, but you guys went without 100 years without winning a World Series, and then you go win one. You're good for 50 years.
Oh,
you guys are chipper.
I'm a Cubs
be getting
fan.
tattoos of that for years.
I'm good. Yeah,
it's just that 1 year.
I'll never forget that feeling when they won the World Series, and I can only imagine what it would feel like for the Vikings to win a Super
Tyler,
Bowl.
I just want one.
I want one. Need one.
And so that's kind of the model that I'm okay with. The Rams, they fell short, but that's because it's Jared Goff, and I'm not a huge fan of Jared Goff.
Yeah.
But they tried their best at realizing that your windows are short in sports, especially in this player empowerment era where guys are signing 2 to 3 year contracts instead of 5-year contracts because they don't know if they want to be there their whole life.
And they know the market's going to keep going up.
They're okay. Exactly. And you're always going to competition brings money. That's how you get money is when people are fighting for you. And
I will point this out. Do you know how many wins the 49ers had before this past season, like the year before? They had what, 13 this year?
Yeah. I'm going to say they had 5.
2. Jimmy G got hurt, and they had 2.
I remember, yeah.
But look, they made it to the Super Bowl.
The old CJ Beathard boy.
Yep. Nick Mullen, too.
Oof.
But look at them this year. Super Bowl. So it's possible to have a bad year and get your quarterback and then be good again.
But look at the team. It's different.
Yeah. Look how they built it.
So like when you go and you take your shot, and one of our buddies says this all the time, like he said this when the Vikings missed their chance to win the Super Bowl when Stephon Diggs, the Minneapolis Miracle season. Yeah, that was our year, he said that when something like that happens, that's your year. And like you have to take advantage of things like that.
Right.
And they like San Francisco tried it and they fell short, and they're probably not going to be as good of a team next year as they were this last year.
No, I don't think they'll make it to the Super Bowl again.
And that's just how it works. And now your cycle begins. I just wish. It sucks because we have that morality factor where you don't want to get rid of guys right away and stuff, but your best option is to move on, like, and just try and start something new with the next talent because you want to be ahead of everybody else. And that's where you see people, you just see people stocking up for years, the Ravens stocking up for years, the Chiefs stocking up for years, and slowly, and then you see it all hit at one time. The Chiefs are going to have a predicament here in the next year or two with their contract situations and all their players on their team. They're going to have to deal with that too. But they won a Super Bowl, and who cares? You know what I mean?
And
so
they
sorry
have the
for
best
going on a
quarterback
rant,
in the league. Yeah,
I'm ready to win one.
Me too, and I really don't care what it takes. If they won and went 0-16 for 4 years, I don't really care. I'd still wear the same hoodie that said Super Bowl champs. They'd be like, if someone said after that, hey, you're still a fan of that team after they went 0-16 for 2 years, I'd just hold up the sweatshirt. Super Bowl champs. And when Tampa Bay goes and goes to the Super Bowl this year, and people are gonna, they're gonna be Tom like, Brady. We told you so. Yeah. Like everybody's like, oh, Tom's too, this, that. Watch, they went all in. This is their chance this year. Yeah, or the next, I guess, 2 years. They signed a 2-year, right? Yes, 2 years, like 50 mil fully guaranteed. Yeah, so 2-year contract. They got a window. Everybody's got their window. So. Yep. And there was one other bit of free agent news that's kind of exciting. I don't know if anything will happen, but because of it. But right away in free agency, Darqueze Dennard, it came out that he signed or agreed to terms with the Jags. 3 years, $15 million. And I was like, oh, damn, that was one of my favorites for the Vikings to sign if everyone if everyone signed elsewhere. Well, everyone signed elsewhere from the Vikings. And as of today, the 26th, Darqueze Dennard is a free agent again because the agreement never actually happened and came to terms. So there was no signature. He's a free agent again. I asked Darren Wolfson if the Vikings were interested in him, and he said I haven't heard back on him yet. So people are checking to see if the Vikings have interest because he could come be the starter day one.
Right.
He started opposite of William Jackson in Cincinnati. Great player. I think he'd be better than Troy Waynes was. I don't know if he'll be as good as Xavier was. Xavier was special, but I think he's only 25, so it'd be a perfect second wave signing for the Vikings. What Rick's known for, but it's kind of up in the air right now. I don't know.
Any help that we can get at that position is one of those things, and obviously it's gonna be dependent on what his contract asking is. We only have so much room.
It was 3 years, $15 million, and I think it was like 10 guaranteed. So they could make that work if they turned a bunch of it into signing bonus this year, had a low cap hit this year.
That'd push us really close to the cap.
They're sitting a little higher than you thought at like 10. They were, as of like a few days ago. I don't know how they did it or who else renegotiated, but over the cap tweeted out the top 10 lowest cap space. And the Vikings weren't even on that. They're like 11th with like roughly 20. But now that
20, okay.
But I think that 20 was before the Michael Pierce signing went through, and then obviously like Tajay Sharp and Anthony Zettel and stuff. But they're all cheap. Right. So if I had to guess, they're probably around 15 or so right now, and they need to save like 6 for the draft. So they could sign a starting corner right now if they wanted.
Right, but. Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen with Anthony Harris? So
yeah, I think that's the other thing Darren said is once Anthony Harris is figured out, be prepared for several dominoes to fall after that.
Absolutely.
So with that is all I've got for today. Unless you've got any more news you're hiding from me.
Nope, there's not a lot.
That's all I got for today. So I'm gonna end it with again saying I hope everyone stays safe out there. Stay away from people. I try to do that anyway, but especially right now, stay away from people. Wash your damn hands. Yeah.
Tyler, you've been using your time wisely inside writing posts, correct? Or writing a couple different articles. I thought we might plug that at the end here.
They'll drop that. Thank you. I wrote an article on some receivers the Vikings should look to draft this year. Some that fit specifically. There's 6 of them, and I just said it in the first 3 rounds, so I didn't bore people with names that they weren't going to recognize. But those are on the brawlnetwork.com. You can just go there and go to the Vikings tab, and the articles will be there. And then I wrote one recently about if the Vikings should draft a quarterback of the future this year. And there's 2 options that I would like them to go with. And I'm not going to say the names because you need to go read it and read the reasoning and watch the clips of these quarterbacks to see why I picked them. But I'll just say this: one, I would want and be okay with them taking with one of their first round picks, and the other would be a day 2 guy, 2nd or 3rd round. Both have huge upside. Both are I'm not going to say the names again, but I'll describe their style of play. Both are great at off script plays, mobility, feeling pressure and flushing the pocket, and then they have one of them particularly has a big arm and trusts it a little too much, but nothing wrong with a big arm. Just ask Patrick Mahomes. And the other one, you could run a similar offense to what the Ravens and Lamar run. So with that being said, I know that may sound exciting and intriguing. So I would love if you guys went and checked it out. I have that quarterback article pinned on my Twitter. So I'll plug it again. It's at Carmer NFL on Twitter, and go give that a read. And if you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. I love to debate and talk football, and let me know. I've got all this time inside, so I'll try to keep putting some articles out. So thanks for that, Austin.
No
With
problem.
That being said, I think it's time to wrap it up, and I'm sure by next week we'll have a whole bunch of new Vikings news to talk about. So
Hopefully.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Skol.
Skol.